Hello and welcome to Middle Eastern Thursday. So today, guys, I have 10 fragrances that I will be reviewing for you. These are fragrances that were part of the last couple of hauls that we've had here on the channel specific to Middle Eastern fragrances. And I've been testing many of these fragrances and I'm ready to share with you my thoughts. I also want you to know that today I'm just going to focus on fragrances that have been a true success and that I think are really worthy of being recommended to you. And in a future video, I will be sharing with you some of the Middle Eastern fragrances that just have not worked out for me and that I am not impressed about. But before we jump right in, if this is your first time here, I'm Arahi and I'm your fragrance concierge because I am totally committed to creating the best fragrance experience for you. I upload videos on Tuesdays, Thursdays, Sundays, and sometimes you even get a bonus video for the week. If that sounds like the type of content that you're interested in and like a good plan, then please consider subscribing, give this video a thumbs up, and don't forget, leave a comment. Let's go. All right, guys, so we have these 10 fragrances and I want to make sure that this video is not very long. So I'm going to go ahead and just speak about the fragrance and share with you my findings from testing. But I am not going to be sharing notes today because I already shared the notes with you and talked a little bit about the notes when I did the initial haul of the fragrance. I'll be sure to link both videos that include all of the fragrances that we're going to be discussing today. I'll link them in the description box in case you're interested in going to see what the notes were and, most importantly, my initial reaction on all of these fragrances. So I'm going to go ahead and start with AIYARA from RASASI. Now, this is a fragrance, guys, that is really interesting because it has the note of apple, and the note of apple is pretty dominant. This is just about the only fragrance that I have in my collection right now where the apple really is the dominant note and comes through as such. This fragrance is very fruity, it is sweet, it is very fresh. It has a rose that I definitely pick up on almost like immediately, but it is like a very fresh and dewy and like young type of rose. There's also some white florals in here, and this is a very musky fragrance that also has a touch of like earthiness to it. The other important thing that you need to know about this fragrance is that to my nose it is quite powdery, so you must love a powdery fragrance in order to really appreciate this one. This is a fragrance that I can definitely tell you is all about the apple and the rose. Those are the stars of this fragrance, and for me it is very different. It's a very different fragrance because I don't have anything in my collection, and I don't even think I've ever sniffed a fragrance where the focus is exclusively on apple and rose, but the apple comes through loud and clear. It's not that I'm not liking it, it's just that I'm honestly, guys, I am like so impressed because again, this is the first time that I encounter a fragrance where number one, the note of apple really shines through clearly, and number two, where I have that very interesting combination of apple and rose. This is a fragrance that has absolutely no oud and I think is best suited for the ages of 25 plus. I would say that this is a fragrance that you can carry probably spring, summer, and fall. Definitely not winter in my opinion, but you may be able, to do it on those winter days where it's not like blizzard outside. But for me, this is definitely a spring, fall, and type of summer fragrance. As far as performance, that is the best part of this fragrance because it will give you 8+ hours without having to overspray, and it does have a very strong projection and a moderate sillage. I've worn this fragrance a couple of times because the first time I wore it, I just felt like, oh my goodness, am I really picking up on just apple? So I did try it again, and when I tried it again, I did get one compliment. This fragrance is not unisex at all. This is really a feminine fragrance, and this is one that you can dress down, you can dress up, and you can wear it for pretty much any occasion. So the next fragrance is a fragrance from Paris Corner, and this is a fragrance that I had not shared with you as part of a haul, so I am going to share the notes with you. But this is a fragrance, guys, that I picked up and I've been using behind the scenes, and I have been so impressed with this fragrance that I felt that I needed to include it in this video. There's actually a couple of fragrances that, oh my goodness, but this one is TASKEEN Peach. And you know, I don't know if the name of this fragrance is TASKEEN Peach or is it TASKEEN Peach Tea, because I've heard people call it different things. But what I can tell you is that this is a fragrance that has, I'm telling you, one of the most realistic peach notes that I've ever sniffed. This is like a true, juicy, ripe peach. Oh my goodness. This is like when you take a very ripe and juicy and sweet peach and you bite into it. It's that initial sniff that you get from the fruit. This is just glorious. So let me share with you the notes of TASKEEN Peach. So at the top we have peach, blood orange, and cardamom. In the mid you have heliotrope, davana, cognac, and jasmine. And at the base you have sandalwood, benzoin, cashmere, vanilla, tonka bean, labdanum, and patchouli. So this is a fragrance, guys, that, as I mentioned before, opens up with a very strong peach note. And that peach is very juicy, it's very sweet, but I also find this fragrance, of course the fragrance is sweet, but I also find the fragrance to have like a tad of booziness. And I know it's coming from that cognac, but I'm not necessarily picking up cognac per se. What I am picking up is maybe like a rum note. I'm not getting cognac though, but it is definitely a boozy fragrance. Is it very boozy? No, it's not, but you are definitely going to pick up on that boozy quality. It is also a fragrance that has quite a bit of vanilla, and I find the fragrance to be warm, spicy for sure. I think TASKEEN Peach is best suited for spring, fall, and summer. I don't think that this is a winter fragrance at all, but I definitely can see how you could pull this off during the fall because of that very beautifully done peach note. This fragrance has no oud, and I think that this is a fragrance that is suited for any age group. This is also one that I would say that if you're going to use it during the summer, you could probably use it during the day, during the night, and for any occasion. But for the seasons of like spring and fall, I think this would be best during the day, and you could still use it for any occasion, but best during the day. As far as performance, I can tell you that this fragrance, without having to overspray, is getting me 6+ hours. And if you overspray it, you are going to get, for me, it was around 7 to 8 hours. I haven't really gotten much more from that, but this is a fragrance that I've had for probably over a month, so it really hasn't had a chance to macerate properly. So I think that that's a very decent performance. But I have to tell you that what really makes me love this fragrance is that peach note that has been done in such a realistic way. But in case you were wondering if TASKEEN Peach has anything to do with Tom Ford Bitter Peach or any other peach fragrance, I will be covering that for you in another video. But in case you're wondering, I can tell you that I am not getting Tom Ford Bitter Peach at all from TASKEEN Peach. So before we continue, I just wanted to let you guys know that I am not comparing any of these fragrances to the OG fragrances that they were inspired by, because as you know, I have another series on the channel where I actually go deep and compare the Middle Eastern fragrance to the OG. So expect to see that with all of these fragrances. So the next fragrance that I want to share with you today is a fragrance that from the first moment I sniffed it, it was like an absolute love for me. And I am speaking about Cherry Cola from Emir. Now this fragrance, guys, is a fragrance that, oh my goodness, I just love it. But I have to tell you, this is a fragrance that you have to absolutely love. Number one, a spicy fragrance, and you must love the note of cinnamon, because cinnamon is the star of the fragrance. Now the cinnamon shares the stage with a very dominant note of nutmeg. So the cinnamon and the nutmeg are always like exchanging the lead role in the olfactory journey of this fragrance. So you have to love a warm, spicy fragrance in order to really enjoy this fragrance. This fragrance has a very nicely done note of cherry. But if you're thinking that the cherry is going to be like center stage or is a dominant note in this fragrance. It is not, because I'm telling you, the dominant note here is the cinnamon and the nutmeg, and those two notes will carry you from the first spray of the fragrance all the way to dry down. The cherry does come in and come out throughout the olfactory journey, and at the dry down you are going to get some of that cherry, but the cherry is not the star for sure. You also have quite a bit of vanilla. This is a very, very aromatic fragrance, and it is also a bit fresh, spicy. There is a freshness to this fragrance which will allow you to use it during the summer season for sure. Needless to say, the note of Coca-Cola is in this fragrance, and it's not dominant, which is very interesting to me, but it is always present in the background of that spiciness, which takes that dominant role. But all in all, guys, I don't know what is it about this fragrance, but it is kind of like addictive. I absolutely love this fragrance. It is supposed to be inspired by Mancera's Tonka Cola, I believe, and I will have a detailed comparison in another video for you. But I can tell you that if you had been considering picking up Mancera Tonka Cola, this may be a good option for you. Now, this is a fragrance that has absolutely no oud, and I think that it is perfect for any age group because there is a touch of playfulness to this fragrance. This is a fragrance that is performing very, very well. I have had it for a couple of months, and I can tell you that without having to overspray, it is giving me 7+ hours with a strong projection and a moderate sillage. This is a fragrance that for me is completely unisex, and one that you can use during the spring, during the summer, and during the fall. I'm not sure that I would pull this during the winter, but you probably could. Now, the next fragrance that I want to share with you today is from KHADLAJ, and it's Le Prestige Empress. Now, this is a fragrance that so many of you have asked me to review, and I am so happy that I picked it up and that I'm actually reviewing it, because if you've watched my video where I am talking about a clone for Bulgari Tigre and for Vibrato Sospiro, I will be sure to link that video right above. But if you've seen that video, then you know that Bulgari Tigre was my signature scent for years. So I do have kind of like a sweet spot for that fragrance. But I can tell you that this one is being compared to Initio's Oud for Happiness, which I own, and I'm going to talk more about that. And it's also being compared to Bulgari's Tigre. Of those two, I'm going to tell you right now, and I will bring this fragrance to that video where I really compare it directly to the OG, but I'm going to tell you right now that this is not, in my opinion whatsoever, a fragrance that was inspired by Initio's Oud for Happiness. No, this fragrance was really inspired by Bulgari's Tigre. This fragrance, much like Bulgari's Tigre and to a certain extent like Sospiro's Vibrato, is a fragrance that is not complicated. This is not a linear fragrance, guys, but when it comes to the olfactory journey and the note structure, this is not a complex fragrance. This is basically a musky fragrance that is also fresh, spicy, while also being very aromatic, and which has a ton of citrus notes. That's it. If you want to know what this fragrance is about, that's what it is about. There's not even a note that I can say is the star of this fragrance. It is all about those citrusy notes and that fresh spiciness and that musk and that very, very, very high aromatic quality. Some of the notes, in case you're wondering, that I do pick up in this fragrance are the ginger, the patchouli, the jasmine, and the violet. Those are 4 notes that I definitely pick up in this fragrance, but this fragrance is all about those accords that I shared with you before. This is a fragrance that is a delight. You are going to get so many compliments, truly, whether you pick up this one or you pick up or you have Vibrato from Sospiro or you have Tigres from Bulgari. I mean, these are fragrances, guys, that are just the ultimate elegance, sophistication, but while being just a very sexy fragrance at the same time. I don't know, I just absolutely love this scent profile, and I really encourage you to watch that video where I'm speaking about Bulgari Tigre and I'm comparing it also to Vibrato, and I'm also then speaking about, and I think it's Expressions On, which I'm pretty sure it's from North Stag, but I will be sure to link that video for you because you really should take a look at that if you are interested in this scent profile. This is, as I said before, a unisex fragrance that will get you 8+ hours without having to overspray. This is an incredibly performing fragrance. It's 8+ hours, strong projection during the first hour, hour and a half. Then it becomes a scent bubble and it will give you a moderate sillage. But this is a high compliment getter. This is also a fragrance that I think is best suited for the groups of 25+, even though probably any age group could get away with using it. And it's a fragrance that you can dress up and you can dress down and use it for just about any occasion. All right, guys, so this next fragrance that I want to talk to you about is a fragrance that, you know, I've been on the fence about it. It is a lovely fragrance. I just figured that I needed to bring it to you because I just need to give you my objective view so that you can decide if this is a fragrance that you're interested in, or if you were considering, I'm going to give you the information on it. But for me, I've been on the fence about it because it's supposed to be inspired, and it is, believe me, by Herba Pura from Xerjoff. And that is a fragrance that if you've seen my Xerjoff collection video, which I will also link for you up here, that is my least favorite Xerjoff. So of all of the Xerjoff fragrances that I have that are perfect for the spring and summer seasons, which I think are about 15 or 16 bottles, I can tell you that Herba Pura is my least favorite. So in taking a look at this fragrance, I had to like really try and center and be objective and not include my feelings because I'm just not impressed, right? And I'm speaking about RASASI's RADI. Now, this is a fragrance that, as I said, is all about the fruits because it's like Herba Pura, right? And this fragrance, I am not even going to bring it to the videos where I compare it directly to the OG because I'm just going to tell you right now that this is like 98% Herba Pura. It is done like on point. Not only that, it also performs like Herba Pura. So it's giving me 7+ hours, and I do have to overspray in order to get that. And it is a fragrance that is very fruity. It is very sweet, very sweet. It has quite a bit of citrus notes. It is musky. It has a very, very good amount of vanilla that you just can't miss. And the dry down is quite powdery. There's also a fresh, spicy quality to the fragrance. So even though it is a sweet fragrance and it is quite fruity because this is like a fruit bomb, just like Herba Pura, you are going to find that it's not cloying. This has been done very, very nicely. I'm telling you, this is like 98% Herba Pura. I'm just really, really, really floored with that part in this fragrance. But at that, because it is so Herba Pura, I was hoping that maybe it would be a bit of a twist on Herba Pura, you know, like kind of adjust or remove some of the things that are kind of annoying for me when it comes to Herba Pura. And Herba Pura is a fragrance that I could have decluttered it, but I still have it in my collection because I just layer it. I layer it with fragrances that have like a bit of oud and I give it a twist. And even with other fragrances that are citrusy fragrances, fruity fragrances, floral fragrances. And, you know, I get a pretty good effect if I layer it with another fragrance. But all in all, it's not a fragrance that I really enjoy using on its own. Now, RADI is the exact same thing. So if you're looking for Herba Pura or you're looking for a fragrance that is fruity, very, very fruity, unmistakably fruity, that is sweet, that has a lot of vanilla, but at the same time it's fresh, spicy, and has quite a bit of a citrusy presence, then RADI is the perfect fragrance for you. This is also a fragrance that I think is perfection for the summer season. I think it's also good for the spring and maybe the beginning of the fall, but I wouldn't pull it other than that. You know, like this is not a winter fragrance and this is not a cold fall day type of fragrance in my opinion. This is not a unisex fragrance to me. This is really a feminine fragrance in my opinion, and it has absolutely no oud, and I would say it's best suited for 30 plus because even though it is fruity and sweet, there's also like a little bit of a maturity to the fragrance, and I feel the same way about Herba Pura. So anyway, I think that this is a very lovely fragrance. I do recommend it again if you are looking for a very fruity fragrance that will be perfection for the spring and summer seasons. All right, guys, so the next fragrances that I'm going to share with you are fragrances that when I tell you They are perfection. These fragrances, I mean, the five that I've just shared with you up till now are excellent fragrances. Even RADI, which is not my cup of tea, but that does not take away from the fact that it is an exquisitely done and performing fragrance. But these five fragrances that are coming up are favorites of mine, and they will be in my collection forever because, oh my goodness. And three of them are from Ahmed Al Maghribi. And I was not going to bring them to this video. I brought them to this video because a couple of fam members requested that I do the review on these fragrances during today's video. So I am going to share them with you, but oh my goodness. The first one that I want to talk to you about is from Ahmed Al Maghribi, and it is Rose Noir. Now, when it comes to Rose Noir, make sure that you pick it up in this bottle because there's another Rose Noir hanging around there, which is also from Ahmed Al Maghribi. But I just want you to know they're not the same thing. I don't know if they've been repackaged. I don't know why they changed the bottle, but the one that I do know is a masterpiece is this one. This fragrance, guys, is exceptional. Now, this fragrance is very powdery, not just at the dry down, but throughout the olfactory journey, you are going to pick up on that powdery quality. It's a very powdery fragrance. It's also very ambery, and it's warm, spicy. It is sweet, but not too sweet. And it has the most beautifully done musk. Then to add oomph to the fragrance and character, you have some beautifully done woody notes that are always in the background. So when it comes to this fragrance, I just find it so interesting because it has a C note, right? So it has also like a bit of an aquatic quality to it, but that note, all it does is like add like a degree of airiness to the fragrance, which just brings it to the next level. And that vanilla has been done so beautifully. And the florals that you find here are really white florals, but they're not demure, they're not weak, but they have just been blended to perfection. If you've seen me do the haul where I talk about Ahmed Al Maghribi and even review a couple of his fragrances, you know that what I keep telling you about Ahmed is two things. In the DNA of this fragrance house, I've come to understand that number one, the way that Ahmed does oud is just unprecedented to me. There's an airiness and a smoothness and a perfection to that oud that it is just exquisite. But there's no oud in this fragrance. I'm just telling you what I find the DNA of that fragrance house to be about. The second thing about it is that the way that they blend their fragrances, oh my goodness, that's really the game changer. That's really, to me, what sets them apart from other Middle Eastern fragrance houses and even some Western niche. Now, when it comes to this fragrance, oh my goodness, guys, this is just perfection. But you have to love a powdery fragrance because it is quite powdery. Another note that I pick up on rather quickly and that is with me throughout the entire olfactory journey and even at dry down is the note of ginger. So I wouldn't say that this is a ginger centric fragrance, but it is definitely a fragrance where the note of ginger is present. To me, guys, I'm just going to tell you, this to me is a floral masterpiece. And this is a fragrance that I will have in my collection for as long as I can get my hands on it. This is truly a 10 out of 10 fragrance for me. It has a performance that is impeccable. This is a fragrance that will get you 8+ hours without having to overspray, with a very strong projection during the first 2 hours. And the sillage is above moderate. It will get you a ton of compliments. The trail that this leaves behind you is anywhere between 3 to 4 feet. And again, the compliments are just incredible. This is a fragrance that you could probably pull off any time of the year, but I think is better suited for the spring, summer, and fall. But I will be using this all throughout the year. And you can dress it down, you can dress it up. But if I'm honest with you, I think that this is a fragrance that I would not wear to the gym or to do sports. I think this is best suited for a bit more dressier occasions, not necessarily formal, but when you are really in that mood to just put it on. So the next fragrance that I want to share with you guys is a fragrance that, again, I have not shared with you as part of a haul here on the channel, but I've had this fragrance for a bit over a month now. And I have to tell you, from the first moment that I received this fragrance, I have been so very impressed. And this fragrance, so you know, was sent to me by Paris Corner, and I am speaking about Eternal Musk. Now, this is a fragrance that is the third out of a group of 3, which the other 2 I have hauled here on the channel and I have shared with you. And Eternal Coffee, and I can't remember the one that comes in the green bottle, but I have those other 2. But guys, this one, this is for a true musk clean fragrance lover. That's it. And I can tell you that this fragrance, the only reason I did not pick it up, because I did pay for the other 2 bottles, but the only reason I didn't pick it up is because it was out of stock. And it has been out of stock for the longest time. It just came back in stock. And they did send it to me, but I wanted to try it and test it because I'm a little bit finicky about musk-based fragrances, especially when it's a fragrance that is all about that clean, like your skin type of smell, which is what this one is. But guys, when I tell you that this is perfection, absolute perfection, this fragrance is not even about the notes, because this, oh my goodness. If any of you have Eternal Musk, please, I want to hear your opinion, because this is just, and I'm not even that much into musk, smell like skin type of fragrances. I do like them, but it's not something that I necessarily, you know, am looking for. So I have just been so impressed at how much I love this fragrance. So now let me get back to the notes part. So what I was telling you is that this fragrance is not really even about the notes, because it's more about the accords involved in the fragrance. This fragrance is, again, very musky. It has a beautifully done, like in sync with the musk note of bergamot, and it has a floral accord that is just perfection. And it is a floral quality, which doesn't even allow me to really distinguish what florals are in here. But it is clear to me that this is a musky floral fragrance that has a citrusy base to it. In addition to that, and to add a little bit of character, so it's not just like a very linear type of fragrance, it also has a great deal of amber. But guys, when I tell you that, oh, and you know, the other thing that I love about this fragrance is that typically when you have this type of fragrance, they don't perform very well. But this is a fragrance that without me having to overspray, it will give me 6 hours. It does have a strong projection during the first hour. After that, it does become a skin scent, but you are going to smell yourself all throughout the wear of this fragrance, because that skin scent is quite powerful and interesting. It's not like an intimate, it's more of like, let's share your skin scent type of scent. And it's also a fragrance that will get you compliments, which for me is unheard of in a fragrance of this nature, because a fragrance that smells like your skin or second skin is not typically one that gets me compliments. But this one, oh my goodness, absolute perfection. If you are into musk fragrances, I absolutely recommend it. Needless to say, this is also a fragrance that is truly unisex. It's not leaning feminine even because of the florals. I just think that I could definitely see a man or a woman using this fragrance without a problem. I also think that this is a fragrance that you can use for any occasion, day or night. You could probably even make this your signature scent if you are into this type of scent profile. And it has absolutely no oud, and it is appropriate for all ages. All right, guys, so the next fragrances that I have for you, the last 3 that I'm going to be sharing with you, I'm going to tell you right now to be ready, because these 3 have me on a chokehold. And these 3 are just, oh my goodness, guys, they are truly exceptional. I also wanted you to know to be sure to check the description box if you're interested in any of these fragrances, because I have a discount code for just about every fragrance. So under each link to each fragrance, I will also include the discount code that you can use to get, I think you're going to get like 15% off, especially in the Ahmed Al Maghribi fragrances through Maison d'Orient, because I do have a code and it will get you 15% off. And for the others, I'm pretty sure that you'll also get at least 10% off. So be sure to check that. But let's go ahead and talk about Ahmed Al Maghribi, and we are talking about ARAAK. Oh boy, if you saw my reaction during the haul video where I hauled this fragrance. Guys, nothing has changed. Actually, I've become more and more obsessed with this fragrance, and I have been playing with layering it. And I think I actually shared with you a couple of layering combinations during the last layering combinations video. But this fragrance is a 10 out of 10. Let me just tell you right now, this is like a masterpiece. This is exceptional. Now, this fragrance is fruity, but it's not excessively fruity because, again, part of the Ahmed DNA is balancing everything out and creating a blend that is just exceptional, where it's really hard to really pick up on certain notes in his fragrances because the blend is just exceptional. But this fragrance is sweet. It is a fragrance that has some beautifully done florals, and they are definitely white florals. That I can tell. I don't pick up on any yellow florals. It's also a fragrance that is musky. It has quite a bit of vanilla. It is fresh, spicy, a tad green, but that greenness just adds like crispness to the fragrance because there's so many notes going on here and so much going on in the fragrance, but that tad greenness does add like crispness to the fragrance, if you know what I mean. And there's also like a bit of an earthy quality. This fragrance doesn't have an animalic touch at all to it because it is pretty much a fresh fragrance. It's not a freshie, but it's a fragrance that has a freshness to it, but it does have an earthy quality to it. And I can tell you that that for sure is coming from the note of cedarwood. But this fragrance, guys, oh my goodness. And the performance, this is going to get you 8+ hours without having to overspray, with a very strong projection during the first 2 hours that then becomes a scent bubble. And the scent bubble will be with you all throughout the wear. This also has a strong sillage, and that sillage will get you not a compliment, not 2, not 3, a ton of compliments. There is something that happens when you wear this fragrance that you automatically feel like beautiful and alluring and happy. And of course, all that positive energy is translated to when you show up to any occasion wearing this fragrance, which is what I think contributes to you getting so many compliments. But this is one of my top compliment getters right now. And it is a fragrance that I think is perfection for the spring and the summer, and maybe the beginning of the fall. I don't see myself really pulling this during the fall or during the winter seasons, but for spring and summer, it is absolute perfection. You can dress it down, you can dress it up for any occasion. I've used it for just about anything that I want to, and it is one that has absolutely no oud, and I think is best suited for 25+. I tell you guys, ARAAK is just a fragrance that you must get your nose on. You really have to try this fragrance. And if you have it, please let us know. Also, this is a fragrance that I consider to be totally feminine. This next fragrance, I'm going to tell you right now that I am so impressed and obsessed with this fragrance that I have decided that I am going to pick up the entire collection, because there's a total of 8 fragrances as a part of this collection. And I just picked up this one because it's the only one that I could find. But when I tell you, it has me on a chokehold, and I don't know if it was inspired by something. I really don't care, because I just absolutely love this fragrance. And I'm speaking about ARMAF's ETER Arabian Sky. And I don't know if it's ETER or ETER. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing it, but what I can tell you is that this is the Arabian Sky one. And there's another like 7 fragrances in this collection. But when I tell you the performance, the blend, it is just an exquisite fragrance. Now, before I speak to the accords that I pick up in this fragrance, I can tell you that this fragrance is very, very powdery. So you have to be a serious powdery fragrance lover to appreciate and enjoy this fragrance. If you are not into powdery fragrances, please do not pick up this fragrance, because this is truly a powdery fragrance. Is it to the point of being cloying or anything like that, or just stuffy because of the level of powderiness? No, not really, because again, it's been done exquisitely. But truly, this is a very, very powdery fragrance. So this fragrance is very woody. It also has an earthy quality to it and a tad of an animalic quality also. But you're not really going to pick up on that animalic quality too much because it's coming out of the musk. At least to my nose, it is very clear that it's the musk that is adding that very interesting touch of an animalic quality, because it is just a touch but present. That earthiness is coming from the note of patchouli, because the patchouli is a note that is dominant in certain parts of the olfactory journey, even though it is not dominant throughout the entire journey or your wear. The patchouli is present, but is not dominant at all times. But there is definitely patchouli, and you are going to pick up on it. So if you do not like fragrances with patchouli, this one also is not for you. It is also warm, spicy, while also being kind of like fresh. So it is a warm, spicy fragrance, but it is also fresh. Undoubtedly, there is a freshness to this fragrance that is with you from the first moment you sniff it all throughout your wear. It is also a fragrance that is quite aromatic and has a good bit of amber to it. All in all, this is a very, very strong, intense fragrance that is not like one of those fragrances that is going to be loud or annoying, but it is a fragrance that is not weak at all. This is definitely an intense fragrance where the focus is more on that earthy quality that's coming from the patchouli, combined with that powdery presence that I told you is quite there, and the woody notes. It is not a sweet fragrance, but it is also not a fragrance that I would consider to be dry. But at all that, interestingly enough, guys, this is a very fresh fragrance that you could use without a problem. Even though it is a very powdery fragrance, it is a fragrance that you could pull off during the summer on the hottest of days without a problem. This is a fragrance that is perfection for any occasion. I would say you can dress it down, you can dress it up, and you could even wear this fragrance to a very formal type of event, because it is a very, very versatile fragrance. I think that it is best suited for 25 plus. It has absolutely no oud, and I would say that this is truly a unisex fragrance. This is not one that leans to the female or the male side. No, this is definitely a unisex fragrance. All in all, guys, this is one that I am so happy that I picked it up, and as I said, I am so going to pick up the others in this collection if they ever make their way to some sort of site or place where I can pick it up here in the US. But this fragrance is to me a 10 out of 10 without a doubt. I am absolutely in love with it. I mean, the bottle is just incredible, as I shared with you during the haul. But putting the bottle aside, this is an incredibly beautiful fragrance. Okay, guys, so this next fragrance, this fragrance, I am telling you, this is a masterpiece. This is a fragrance like no other I've ever tried in my life, and it is an incredibly performing. The quality of the notes, you can immediately tell it's like a different level. It is just an amazing fragrance. And it has been compared to Imperial Valley from Gissa, which, if you've seen my luxury Middle Eastern fragrances video, you know I own that fragrance. And I am here to tell you that no, not to me, not to me. Do they have a similar vibe? They do have a similar vibe. Are they the same fragrance? No, they are not. There are differences, but I am not going to cover the differences in this video. I am going to bring this fragrance and Imperial Valley to, you know, the video where I compare one Middle Eastern fragrance to the OG. I will bring those two, and I will definitely speak about it in detail. But today, I just want to focus on speaking about Ahmed Al Maghribi's MARJ. Oh my goodness, guys. Now, this is a fragrance that I heard about for such a long time. And there were not mixed reviews. It's just that there were reviews that indicated that this was such a complex fragrance that, you know, most likely that it wasn't going to be like a mass appealing fragrance, that it would be hard for you to really love this fragrance. Well, that does not apply to me, because I am not just in love, I am obsessed with this fragrance. And let me just tell you right now, this is a 100 out of 10. Okay, this is 100 out of 10, if that even exists. And to me, I will repeat, this is a masterpiece. Now, this is a fragrance, guys, that performs truly a beast mode fragrance. I typically tell you about the performance towards the end of the review, but the reason I'm telling you about the performance now is because you must know that if you pick up this fragrance, please do not just overspray. Do not overspray. Don't even spray as you normally do. Because when I say beast mode beyond, like beast mode beyond is what this fragrance is. Let me tell you. So this is a fragrance that when I use it, I only spray it in my pulse points. And I only do one spray. I don't, typically I'll go like all over the place. No, here is just one spray. And that will get me 10 plus hours with a very strong projection during the first 3 hours. If you by any chance make the mistake of spraying in more than just your pulse points or spraying more than one time on each pulse point, you are going to choke for sure. That's this fragrance. That's what this fragrance really is about. It is unbelievable. But let's talk about the juice. So this fragrance is fruity. It is spicy. It has florals. It is just an unbelievable fragrance. And it has, I don't know, like they have actually disclosed about like 20 something notes. Yes, they have 20 something notes. And I can tell you that you can pick up on all of the notes at one point or the other within the olfactory journey. The journey that you get with this fragrance, guys, is like none I've ever experienced. I am telling you, this fragrance is not just any fragrance. This fragrance has a citrusy opening and it immediately starts to bring in the spices. So this fragrance is also warm, spicy, but interestingly enough, it's not that it's fresh, but there is an airiness in this fragrance. It is woody, it has some oud, it is very, very aromatic, and it has some florals. And the florals for sure are white florals and rose. And do I pick up on the rose? Yes, I do. But now you're probably wondering, okay, Arahi, so is this yet another oud rose fragrance? No, this is not an oud rose fragrance. Believe me, I don't even think that you can describe this fragrance in any very specific way. Like, can you say that this is a musky fragrance? I wouldn't call it that. Would you say that this is a woody aromatic fragrance? No, I wouldn't call it that, because this fragrance is, like, in my opinion, in a league of its own. Again, it is beyond masterpiece. It has such a beautiful combination of accords and notes, and the tonalities that you get from that, oh my goodness, are just, honestly, I've never experienced anything like it. When it comes to the oud meter, which is also very important that I tell you this, the oud meter, if I go from 1 to 5, with 5 being the most oud presence, I would say that this is a 4. So do you have to enjoy the note of oud in order to enjoy this fragrance? Yes. Is the oud very intense here? No, not to my nose, but I love oud, but it's not very intense. It's really like a 4, which means that the oud is present. It's not going to go below radar. It is an oud that you're definitely going to sniff. In addition to that, this fragrance to me is completely unisex, and I would say that is best suited for, I would say, 30 plus. I think that there's a certain level of maturity that goes with this fragrance because it is quite complex, and it is just such an interesting, very, very interesting fragrance. To me, there is nothing playful about this fragrance. I wouldn't say that this is a serious fragrance or so intense that it's like very serious or close-minded. No. This fragrance is a beauty, but it is not playful. It is not a flirty fragrance. It is a fragrance that, if worn in the right way, could be a sexy fragrance. It could be a boss fragrance. I mean, it is just that type of fragrance. For me, this is a fragrance that you can pull off during any season of the year, but I would be careful not to wear it on the hottest of summer days, especially if you're going to be outside, because this is, again, a true beast mode fragrance that is also very, very intense in its wear. This fragrance, again, as I said before, will get you 10 plus hours. I mean, guys, this is, and that's 10 plus hours with minimal spraying, right? 10 plus hours. Again, the projection is beast mode and the sillage is beast mode. Interestingly enough, this is a fragrance that also commands attention. It's the type of fragrance that if you overspray and you step into a room, people will turn around to see who just entered the room because the fragrance announced your entrance. But this is also a fragrance that will get you compliments because it is such a conversation piece, is really what I find it to be. All in all, guys, this for me is a top recommendation. I can't recommend it enough. I am so happy that I have it in my collection, and I plan to make this a lifer, and I hope that they always produce it. This is part of the permanent collection for Ahmed, but I'm really hoping that they continue to produce it without an issue and making it available all throughout the world. Again, I recommend this and I give it a 100 out of 10. Alright guys, so we have reached the end of today's video and I hope that this was enjoyable for you. I'm telling you guys, the 10 fragrances that I shared with you today are so worth it. If you've picked up any of the fragrances, please let us know your thoughts in the comments section. And if you have any other questions, you know where to find me. And I am so looking forward to knowing how you feel about any of these fragrances, especially the last 5 that I shared with you, but all 10 are just a delight. Anyway, guys, thank you so much as usual for hanging with me today. For all of the new fam members, welcome to our fragrance loving family, and I will see all of you in the next video.